Hello, welcome to another episode of the discussion. Today we're going to be talking about movies. Now, I'm just kidding. That's a lie. You already read the title. We're talking about this semester. So, as I told you like 3 months ago, it's been the first half of my freshman year so far, and a bunch has happened. And luckily, I'm done with finals and presentations for a couple of weeks, so might as well talk about it. So, sitting through 70 classes a day for 5 days a week for like 5 months is pretty much a stress. And, well, there's been a couple of times where I've been through stuff, I've caused some stuff, or I've seen some stuff. So, let's tell some stories about that. Alright, so let's start off with my Avid class. This story happened because I'm going to be jumping around, but this happened after Thanksgiving break on Monday. So we were waiting for the teacher because she's always late, like usual. So we were just waiting, right? One of her tutors opens the door and we go in. We do our normal thing, like write down the agenda, and we have to write it down in pen. Like if we use pencil on anything except for notes, she grades our work a 0. So just to say, I hated the class. So I was just kind of already mad because I didn't want to be in the class at the time. So the teacher finally shows up, and there there was a girl sitting next to me who wasn't always there. There was another girl who was sitting in the corner of the table, two empty seats. Well, one of them was filled with um, a kid who was new but not really. He was there for like a month or so. And then there was a kid who sat next to him right there, even though he wasn't supposed to be there. And he was actually his friend. We'll just call him like Jacob, and the friend David. So the teacher finally comes in and she's taking roll. She looks at David and is like, "Who are you?" And David's like, "Oh, well, I sit here." She's like, "Do you have your schedule?" And he's like, "No." She's like, "Alright, then get out of my classroom." And I was just sitting down, like, running my agenda, and I was like, "Okay, then. This is gonna be good." So, she's yelling at David, and she's also yelling at my friend. I named him something. But he yells at David's friend, the kid who was there for like a month, and he's like, "Why don't you tell him to go or anything?" He was like, "Well, because I did. I told him to leave, but he didn't." He was like, "You need to make new friends." And the teacher says, "You know, just for that, I'm gonna grade you harder for the rest of the year," which kind of sucks on his part. And then she looks at me and then two other girls, and she's like, "Why don't you three say anything?" And in the back of my mind, I was like, what do you expect me to do? I'm not gonna yell at him and be like, "Yo, get out of the classroom. You don't belong here." Like, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna do that. Obviously, like, so the girl standing in the corner, she's like, "Oh, well, I was just minding my own business." The girl standing next to me, she's like, "I didn't notice he was here," and I was just like, "I don't care." So she tells the girl who said she was minding her own business that, well, like, it just like how I say that if someone's not gonna do something, you should do it. Like, that's kind of a dumb rule. Like, if someone isn't doing something, then clearly you should take initiative. Which, like, yeah, that's good, but like, in some situations, it's really not needed. Cause like he was gonna get yelled at either way. But why would she expect us to do anything? Because we're just students. We're not gonna cause a fuss just because he's not sitting where he's supposed to be, let alone in the same classroom. So, and then she tells the girl sitting next to me, "Well, you're not always here, so I won't be talking." And in the back of my mind, I was like, "You're always late. Like, you can't really speak for yourself as well." And she was late. Almost every day, she's late, like 5 minutes or so. And then she looks at me and she's like, "So you say you don't care?" And I was like, "Yes." And she was like, "Well, why don't you?" And then I was like, "Because I don't." She's like, "Really? How about I call your parents and, let them deal with your behavior? Because saying you don't care, he could have had a knife or a gun." And I was like, "He didn't have a weapon. Like, chill out. It's not even a big deal." And I kind of tuned her out because I wasn't going to argue with her because I was just not in the mood. And then she was like, like I said, you should take initiative. Otherwise, it's going to be that situation where this girl got raped on the news and everyone thought that someone called the police. I was like, you're comparing rape to a student who's in the wrong classroom. Yeah, genius logic right there. And then I was just tuning her out. After that, like, she was passing out papers later on in the same period, and she just, like, here, she, like, flipped it at me, and the girl, like, frisbeed it. I was like, okay. But that's enough of that story for that period, because that took up a while. Let's talk about English class. So, there was one time where we were just doing our, like, book assignment where we had to, like, type out a quote from the chapter we were reading. So some of the kids that day had conferences, so they had to meet with their counselors. So there was only like less than 15 students in the classroom. So one girl had a wheelchair, and like she was sitting at her desk, and the wheelchair was like behind her. And the teacher, he's a pretty chill guy and also pretty funny. He was sitting in the wheelchair, he was like rolling it back and forth. He was like, "Whoa, like it's pretty cool in this thing." And out of nowhere, he falls back in the wheelchair, and we just hear a whoa, and everyone just looks, and he's like on the floor. Like, he didn't fall face first, he fell back, and everyone was like, oh, ho, ho, ho. We're like, are you okay? Are you okay? Like, did you break your neck or something? Of course he didn't. Like, he was fine, he didn't get bruised or anything, but we were like, are you okay? He's like, if someone could have recorded that right now, that would have been an awesome Instagram or Snapchat moment. I was like, oh my lord, like, are you okay? I mean, of course he was fine. Like, he did get up. Like, the wheelchair didn't break either, so. But that caught everyone by surprise. And when everyone came back from counseling, we all told them about it. Like, are you serious? I was like, I literally thought that he could have broken his neck or something from falling back in a wheelchair. Actually, how ironic would that be? Anyway, moving on. So that's English class. Let's talk about my biomedical studies class. Ah, yes, the class that I kind of learned, but not really. So we did this lab one time where we testing that type 1 and type 2 diabetes, and we had to use one of these like little, I forgot the name of it, but I know you had to squirt it. Like, you squeeze it and then you take it out of the bottle and then you put it on something else. So we were doing that, and he says use like one of them, and I was like, oh, okay. And the only one that we had was in this like little glucogen slash insulin testing. You'll learn about it if you don't know. Like, you'll learn about it in like freshman year or 8th grade. And I took it and I used it, and he's like, wait, did you use the wrong one? And I was like, yeah. He's like, make sure you're not using this one. And he holds up the one I was using, because it wasn't exactly the one that everyone else was using, because they had plastic ones, and we didn't have any plastic ones because it was actually supposed to be used for something else. So I messed up, and he was like, I never had a student in 30 years fail this lab. Well, I mean, not fail, like mess it up. He was like, but, and over here, he made history. I was like, wait for me. Like, you can't blame me because you weren't specific. You said use a test tube or something, or whatever it was called. Like, you weren't specific that it had to be the plastic one, because there was one in the bag, but we didn't have any, so. But luckily, he did get us another one that was actually supposed to be used, and he gave us another replacement, because apparently when I used it, it got stuck in there, so they had to, like, fix it. So, but one of my friends was like, good job, you made history. I was like, hooray to me. Alright. In art class, which is the next period actually, after this class that I had, one day I did get nominated like student of the week or something, because I guess I was working hard. Because I heard on announcements during my English class that apparently I got student of the week because I was hardworking, I was like doing all my work, smart. I did A+ work, which is kind of true. I mean, like, after Thanksgiving break, I think it turned in below average work, needless to say. But I was honestly like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. I got noticed for like 5 seconds, and but nobody even cared. Not even the seniors or juniors or sophomores that didn't even know who I was. You know what? I'll take it. I don't know. I just thought in that little story. Alright, then math class. Because even though I skipped my PE and biology class, mainly because those classes are pretty chill and nothing really happens that much that is worth a story. So in math class, my teacher, she sucks at teaching us. Let me just say that right now. She just gives us packets and doesn't teach us. That's it. If I don't know what is the worst teacher, I don't know. That is it. Besides my like 7th grade science teacher. But one day she was grading binders, and the next day when I left my binder there for her to grade with other binders, and I had my name on some stuff that was in there, she didn't have it. The next day I checked, didn't have it. Next week when I check after school, I found out that my binder was like between a bunch of papers and piles. So I had to organize my binder. Then the next day when I had the class, I would have to turn it in again. And I did. And I didn't get it back. While other kids, they got their binders back. And since this was the upcoming final on Monday, I didn't get my notes back on Friday. So I didn't have anything to study. And on the day of the final, when most of the kids had their math binders and the notes in them, I actually had to ask the teacher for those notes. And even though I didn't have to use those notes because the test was on nothing related to the notes. Nothing. It was like the beginning notes, except it was stuff that was like easy but not really easy. So, and I thought it had to be on everything, but no. Hopefully I did good on that test. Hopefully I did not flunk because let me tell you, I didn't guess. I just tried my best. Hey, that rhymed. But I don't know. I hope I did good. I don't know. Hopefully I did good. Hopefully I did not flunk. Because flunking in high school is bad, kids, if you're not already there. And if you have, you know how much it sucks to remake a class. But I haven't, thank the Lord. Alright, but that's all I really major stories from like this year so far. So maybe next semester will be wild, maybe not. Who knows? Only time will tell. But that's all I have to say. So thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, then like it. If you want to hear more stories about school, I guess, then let me know. If you've got anything for me to talk about on the discussion series, let me know as well. And there's gonna be a longer animation that I'm gonna hopefully work on. Hopefully, my potato of an iPad can handle like the storage. So yeah, hopefully that can work out. Like the animation itself. Hopefully, I mean it'll be hard to like upload it on my phone and edit it together. But you know what? Yeah. So all right, later. Peace.